to subdue nature, to bend its forces to our will, has been the acknowledged purpose of man since human life began. But the time has come for a revision of our conception of the benefits and responsibilities of holding dominion over all other created things. At a time when great elemental forces are clamoring at the bars of our civilization, we need to discard our ideas of attacking the forest, bringing under subjection the mighty rivers, conquering the mountains, and subduing the prairie. Instead, we need to make the most of all nature as an ally. Mankind is welcome to dominate the other forms of life, provided he can maintain order among the relentless energies whose balanced operation he has disturbed. This is a hard condition. Our past is full of somber warnings of what happens when we fail to meet it. The evidence is the remnants of great civilizations buried beneath mud and sand. In an article in the Journal of the Bombay Natural History Society, M.S. Randhawa provides historical evidence to prove that in the last 2000 years there has been a progressive desiccation of northern India. As an example, he cites the changes that have occurred in the Mathura region of Uttar Pradesh. Being one of the wettest countries of the world, India is still suffering from flood and droughts due to faulty utilization of water resources. Gigantic dams have displaced crores of tribal people, drowned million hectares of rich forest areas, failed to prevent and control floods, and often created destructive flash flood in the downstream valley, and gradually depleted the fertility of the soil and turned them into barren wastelands. The area apparently once received over 2000 mm of rainfall as against the present 600 mm. The evidence on which Randhawa bases his thesis in mainly the sculptures of the period and specific reference in the Purans to the Ashoka tree and other moisture-loving plant species, whose present-day distribution is restricted to areas with over 2000 mm rainfall. Thus, the Mathura region appears to have degraded within historical times from an area capable of supporting luxuriant forests to one with a semi-desert type of vegetation, rather similar to that of the Rajasthan desert. It is found that area affected by floods in India has increased from 20 million hectares in 1971 to 40 million hectares at present, despite less rainfall. Moreover, huge dams and multi-purpose projects have created an environmental impact in the form of degradation of soil in the command areas due to continuous waterlogging and increasing soil salinity. The major portion of increasing salinity affected areas lies in the Indo-Gangetic plains of UP, Punjab, and Haryana. The loss in the productivity of the land and the consequent degradation of the environment is nowhere more clearly shown than in the history of some of our endangered species of wildlife. The distribution of the great Indian rhinoceros sufficiently illustrates this point. This ponderous animal, now restricted to the swampy river rainforests of a few sanctuaries in Assam, West Bengal, and Nepal, was found in historic times from Peshawar, where the Mughal Emperor Humayun hunted it, eastward across the Gangetic plain to Assam. Only when we recognize that the study of all living things is a profoundly necessary part of human thought do we reach the moment of truth. Then we realize that we are part of a complex stretching back to the beginning of time and reaching out on every hand to the boundaries of the universe. Every one of us is an actor in a great drama in which each plays his part as both cause and effect. The forces set in motion by every act of every animal and bacterium, by every inch added to the growth of plant or tree, affect the lives of other creatures. Our primitive ancestors made their way for millions of years before they discovered how to use iron, copper, coal, oil, and gold. But never has man been able to get along without food and water. This is why the relationship of all living things has urgent meaning for us. The slow changes by natural causes such as climate, the earth has suffered measureless destruction of animals and plants by the uncalculating actions of both savage and civilized men. It was the destruction of their environment that caused the rhinoceros to disappear and die off our western plains. Forests have been burnt up, soil has been washed away, deserts have been produced, and rivers have been polluted. Professor A.F. Coventry says, "We have for a long time been breaking the little laws, and the big laws are beginning to catch up with us." The fact that the rhinoceros requires a swampy grass jungle to exist is a pioneer to the conditions then obtaining in areas which are now practically desert. The pink-headed duck, another resident of the same swampy forest habitat, became extinct in the 30s of the present century. Loss of its habitat, combined with the fact that it nested on the ground among reeds and not up in the tree holes like our other resident ducks, is possibly one of the main reasons for the disappearance of the species. At least 1,317 bird species have been recorded in India, against around 10,000 species found worldwide. Of the 1,317 species in India, 72 are endemic to the country. According to an assessment of the International Union for Conservation of Nature 2018, a total of 100 species of Indian birds are classified as threatened. Of these, 17 are categorized as critically endangered, 20 as endangered, and 63 as vulnerable. Besides these threatened species, there are several other species that are marked by sparse population size and restricted range and are generally considered rare by conservationists. The draft plan observes that it is documented that 270 species, that is 21% of Indian avifauna, fall under the rare category, and these include the raptors, pheasants, bustards, hornbills, cranes, and storks, which together are classified as rare, endangered, and threatened or RET bird species. Birds perform various ecosystem services like controlling pests in agriculture and forestry, rodent control, pollination of plants, seed dispersal, and forest regeneration, scavenging services, indicators of environmental health, and have socio-cultural and religious values. The pressure of anthropogenic activities destroying their natural habitat and factors like environmental degradation, changes in land use like rapid urbanization and pollution poses a serious threat to their survival. It also leads to ecological imbalances. For instance, the decline in the population of vultures led to an alarming increase in the population of stray dogs, especially in urban areas across India. It was found that this abrupt increase in the stray dog population resulted in high rates of rabies incidences, costing the country about rupees 34 billion between 1993 and 2006. There is a network of 870 protected areas across India, which includes national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, community reserves, and conservation reserves, and many of them have high avian diversity. A total of 554 sites across the country have been designated as important bird and biodiversity areas, of which 219 are outside the protected area network and are under severe anthropogenic pressure. The worrying part is that most of them do not have any conservation action plan or management prescription for their sustenance. But the important bird and biodiversity areas, which are exceptionally rich in avian diversity and other RET species, that is, rare, endangered, and threatened species, are vulnerable to pressures from anthropogenic activities, resulting in the destruction of their habitats, which leads to a decline in their numbers. Therefore, conservation of such habitats, which support a high number of bird species, assumes greater significance as strongholds for biodiversity conservation. There are presently 2,01,503 wetlands across more than 2.5 hectare in India, and most of them are under stress due to impacts of urbanization, agricultural runoffs, which require specific management plans for conservation. India is a party to the Ramsar Convention, which is an international intergovernmental treaty for the conservation of wetlands. Wetlands are one of the safe areas for birds, but what is happening to wetlands across the country tells the actual tale of the conservation of birds in India. For instance, look at the unplanned development that has taken all over wetlands in Delhi and all the national capital regions. Wetlands are considered one of the important habitats for birds. Another point is that as far as policies around the conservation of birds is concerned, there is no concerted effort to develop wholesome strategies. There is no continuity in thought processes. Implementation of these policies is a far off thing.